Within the last 10 years, we've had MP3 players, iPods, and iPhones come out. Now, I can record and download, actually, record is the old word, download exactly the song I want, when I want, where I want it. And I can carry 3,000, 4,000 songs around. I think on our iPod, on my iPhone, I have like 4,000 songs. 3,900 are my son, and there's about 100 left for me. But the point is I can take it anywhere I want and listen to great quality music. So in 40 years, the music industry has responded to consumer demand by going from 6 or 7 songs on an LP to 4,000 great quality songs wherever I want it. And as we talk today about maximizing your sales, I want you to think about where your industry is on that continuum between the LP and the iPod. Has your industry really evolved over the last 40 years as quickly as it really should have? And some people say to me, Peter, the music industry, that's, a lot of famous artists and money and that kind of thing. But when you boil it right down, the music industry is no different than the food production industry. We have artists who create songs. In food production, we have growers and producers who produce product. The music industry has a recording label who does the technical work and markets the music. And in the food industry, we have processors, and they package the product. In the music industry, we have retailers like HMV or iTunes. And in the food industry, we have retailers like Sobeys or Loblaws or a wholesaler. So it's really not that different. But look at what the change they've been able to make in 40 years. And I want you to really think about that as we talk about your industry today. So really, as a producer, a manufacturer, a grower, you are producing products to sell to the retailer. The retailer is the person who sells it to the consumer in the store for personal use. So you can't focus all your time on that end user. You need to think of the retailer as your customer. What do they want? And if you want to maximize your sales, you got to go after the retailer and really understand what's going on in their business and meet the needs of their business so you can then have the privilege of selling that product to the end user. So today we're going to talk about some retail trends going on. And when you talk about retail trends in Canada, there's 2 things that you need to look at. One is the retail landscape, and one is the consumer. So the retail landscape is really being affected by the competition. And in Canada, in the last number of years, we've had the introduction of Wal Mart. And if you sell food in Canada, you need to understand what is going on with Wal Mart. When you work for one of the other traditional food retailers like Loblaws or Sobeys, you're used to being the big player on the block. Now, you are the little guy. When I worked with Loblaws, we perceived Walmart to be the Darth Vader of retail, this big evil empire coming in and going to bring all this evil to the market and really going to take all the business. And there's some truth to that. They do bring a lot to the market. But on the other hand, they are very simple and effective business people. And you need to figure out whether you want to do business with that enterprise or not, because it is a real factor in the Canadian food industry. Another trend that's impacting the Canadian food landscape is the discount banners. And depending on what market you service, you need to understand that within Canadian food retailers, this is the segment that's growing. So when you're developing products and producing new items, are you really producing items that are going to meet the needs in the discount chains? That's very different than a traditional food retailer. They don't want packaging, they don't have labor, they don't have a lot of the amenities of a traditional food store. But this is where the sales are growing for the retailers. So what are you putting on the table that's really going to meet the needs of those retailers? And when you go in and talk to the retailers, you need to understand that sales are their #1 priority. They are after volume. So you've got to bring them innovation. We've just been through a miserable economic time in the world, in Canada. You need to bring them value. If you're bringing items to the table that are not really right for the value equation, not going to appeal and bring people into their stores, you might as well forget it, because it's not going to meet their needs. And the last thing you really got to bring when it comes to sales and driving sales is you got to bring solutions. The retailers are under immense pressure to cut costs out of their business. That means they don't have the resources they used to have. So don't bring them something that's going to require an awful lot of work, because they're not going to buy it from you. They will move on to the next one. Another trend going on right now in Canadian food retail is supply chain. Supply chain is a critical piece for these people trying to move forward. This is a huge percent of their cost, and it's a cost that people can control. Another issue on the supply chain side is quality. If you're going to differentiate your fresh products with quality, you need to move them through the warehouse and get them to the store as fast as possible and in the best possible shape. So quality is another big reason for supply chain improving. And the last is employees. In the old world, a distribution center would build a pallet of product and ship it off, and whoever cared, doesn't matter, whatever it looks like when it gets to the store, you guys figure it out. Now people are realizing that if you want to have happy employees, you've got to give them all the same items that go in the same aisle. They're a lot quicker to put it on the shelf if you give them all the same items in the same aisle. So there's a lot of work being done. And when the companies talk to you about supply chain, you've got to be listening. When they approach you and say, I only want this many deliveries, or I want my delivery at 2 o'clock in the morning, you need to figure out how to make that happen in your business. Because if you don't, somebody else is going to come to the table and do it for you. Now, when we talk about the retail trends, we also have lots of things going on in the market that are impacted by the consumer. And nutrition and wellness are two really big topics for the consumer today. We have an aging population in Canada. People want to eat healthier. When you look at people shop the store, it's constant now. You watch them go down. I mean, I almost think that we need to have a separate lane in the aisle for people to read labels, because they kind of frustrate you because they stop and they're stuck and they got their big cart there and they're done. They're looking to see how much sodium is in the can of soup. But people are becoming educated about it. So if you're going to bring solutions to the table for the retailers, you need to bring solutions that fit what they're trying to do, and that's to bring healthier products to the consumer. When we look at what a week in the life of a category manager is like, these people are flat out trying to get their job done. Nowhere, when I chart out the week of a life in a category manager, do I see return phone calls to suppliers, especially ones that make up less than 2% of my total category. So if you're going to stand out and you're going to work with these people, you need to figure out how to communicate effectively with them. Now, when I talk about know your customer inside and out, there's lots of information for you to go and learn about these people. You really need to research them. Go to their stores. If you operate a business, a farm, or a processing plant, how often do you say to people, oh, I'd love you to come, I'll give you a tour, I'd love to show you what we're doing? It makes you feel good, doesn't it, when they want to come and experience your farm and go on a tour. Well, it's no different than the store. The store is their farm. That's their calling card. So you got to go in, and you got to look around, and you got to look up at the signage and say, what is it telling me? What are they trying to tell their consumers? Because I need to provide that so they can tell them. So look at the signage. You know, if it says $1 for this, low prices for that, everything's going to be a great deal, well, you better go in and be ready to talk about price. That's what they're going to the market with. But on the other hand, if you go in and there's pictures of suppliers' families and there's, you know, more warm and fuzzy and that kind of thing, well, then that's the direction you need to take with these people. They're sending you a message. It's all there for you to go and get. Just look. You know, put your retail glasses on when you go in the store, when you walk around the store. Don't just go and look for my item and go, oh, look, there it is, you know, it's right there. Or miserable SOBs, we got it on the bottom shelf, you know, what are they doing with it down there? Don't do that. Look at the whole store. Look at all the departments. What are they telling their consumers? And take that message back to your business. And as you move forward with your business, and you really want to try and maximize sales, I challenge you to think about where you are on that continuum between the LP and the iPod. Are you stuck back here and not moving forward, not making change that's being demanded by the consumer and by the retailers? Or are you being progressive and that you're able to store 4,000 songs on your iPod? So I want you to think about that as you go forward and try and move your business to the iPod. Thank you.